Climate change is the biggest threat our communities face in Micronesia. Many of us don't know what to do about climate change. Watch this video to learn about what you can do in your communities.
Throughout Micronesia and the Pacific, there are hundreds of islands and many different cultures. However, we share some things in common. We love living here with our families, and we are the caretakers of our island homes. For centuries, our climate has been similar across all our islands. It's sunny, and we have a rainy season and a dry season. In the past, fishermen have always been able to count on the seasons to know when to catch certain fish, and farmers have depended on the seasons to know when to plant and when to harvest. We have always known extreme weather such as droughts, storms, and flooding, and learned ways to prepare for these events. In the past, most of our extreme weather was caused by natural patterns called El Niño and La Niña. During El Niño, droughts and lower than normal sea levels happen across Micronesia and last about a year. After this time, La Niña usually happens and can cause more rain and higher sea levels and higher king tides than normal. These are natural patterns that happen about every 3 to 7 years. But lately, in the last decade or so, things have been changing. The seasons are less predictable or more intense. The rainy and dry seasons are sometimes longer or sometimes shorter. Wind and seasons don't come when they always used to, and coastal flooding is happening more often. Our elders are concerned. Younger people may not even know what it was like in the past. So what is climate change? Climate change is not new. The Earth's climate has changed many times over millions of years. For example, the Ice Age, when the Earth was much colder than it is now. Also, very long ago, the Earth was much hotter and there was no ice or snow anywhere. So while it's natural for the climate to change, it usually happens very slowly over thousands of years. What is different now is that for the first time in history, human activity is causing the climate to change, and it's happening much faster than it normally would. Now, the Earth is getting hotter and very quickly, over just tens of years. So what are humans doing to cause our climate to change? Over the last 200 years, people have created more smoke and gas from clearing forests, large-scale farming, factories, and burning fuel in cars, boats, and planes. As more gas builds up in the sky, also known as the atmosphere, it becomes like a blanket that traps heat all across the world. This warms the entire planet, much like how a car parked in the sun with the windows rolled up gets hotter because the heat is trapped inside. As the Earth gets hotter, it's causing a lot of changes. The air is hotter, the seas are warmer, the seas are getting higher, the weather is more extreme, and seasons are different than they used to be. These things are causing lots of problems in our communities. Hotter air temperature can make droughts worse, cause crops to dry out, and spread disease, and wells and water sources to dry up. When the ocean gets warmer, it can get too hot for some types of fish. This causes them to move away to cooler areas. Hotter water also damages coral that provides homes and food for fish. Healthy coral reefs are also like a wall that protects our coastal communities from big waves and storms. When the coral reef is dead or weakened, waves can get to the villages and cause more damage. While some of us might not have noticed, Scientists do know that the sea is rising. It has already risen by 4 to 8 inches in the last 100 years and is expected to rise 11 inches by mid-century. Over the next 100 years, it will rise by 3.5 feet or more. This is already causing coastal flooding on many islands, and we can expect it to get worse. This flooding has and will continue to damage homes, roads, and farms. Also, as the sea rises, salt water can ruin wells and crops. Rising seas combined with storms and big waves can also wash away shorelines. More extreme rain can wash soil into the ocean, damaging coral reefs, and cause floods that kill crops, spread disease, and destroy our homes. All of these things can cause serious problems for our health, safety, and income. Due to climate change, most communities are starting to feel these problems. But people in our communities and scientists have learned that if communities are not prepared and the environment is already weakened, damage from climate change will be worse. When our communities are organized and our environment is healthy, we will be less affected by these changes and can recover faster. For example, if plants along the shoreline, like mangroves and pandanus, are protected and healthy, it helps to prevent the shore from washing away. These shoreline plants also help to keep big waves from coming into our villages when there are storms. If coral reefs and fish populations are healthy, they're better able to survive when the water gets hot and recover when the water gets cooler. As a result, many communities around the Pacific are preparing for the impacts of climate change by getting organized and taking actions to keep their environment healthy. Communities that are experiencing more flooding and erosion are doing things like replanting coastal vegetation to protect shorelines and reduce damage from flooding. Communities that are concerned about declining marine resources are creating community-managed areas. As the climate changes, this will help coral reefs, fish, and other marine resources survive better and continue to provide food and income. Communities that are experiencing damage to food crops are doing things like using traditional agriculture methods that were designed to protect our crops during drought or too much rain. Communities that are worried about water supplies in times of drought are doing things like installing water tanks to make sure everyone has enough clean water. So as you can see, there are things your community can do to prepare for these changes. Is your community feeling any changes that you're concerned about? This video is part of a series of videos and workbook that can guide your community to prepare for climate change. Many communities around the Pacific who have taken action to prepare for climate change go through a similar process. First, they organize a group that includes men, women, elders, and youth to work together to create an action plan. Then they work together to implement the actions in their plan that they can take themselves. Remember, this video provided some examples of actions communities around the Pacific are already taking. Finally, they reach out for support from outside organizations to help with challenges that are too big for the community to address on their own. As we've seen, a first important step is to form a group to work on action planning. If you already have a group, watch the next video to get started. If you don't have a group, now is the time to form one. Then watch the next video to get started with planning.